headlines, sorting through the media bias, exposing the propaganda, and challenging you to use your brain. It's time to tap into the truth.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed time to tap into the truth. With you as always, broadcasting live from scenic Roane County, Tennessee, also historic. It is your humble host, that's me, Tim Tapp. Today we're going to talk about the new Paul Ryan Republican budget. We're going to take a look at where it falls short, what it does right, and of course tackle the age-old question of why bother when we know it's dead on arrival when it reaches the Senate. Before we get into that, though, needed to send a special message out for those of you who are local and listening nearby. If you haven't heard and happen to have known Miss Deanna Williams, also now Deanna Williams-Kelso, she has passed away this past week. They will be having a memorial service for her this coming Saturday. Definitely a loss that will be felt keenly by those who knew her well. She was a relatively young lady still, barely reaching her 40s, loved her children, and was a unique individual. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family and those who were left behind. Both her parents still alive, as well as 2 brothers and a sister, and she did have 2 children. I'm not going to invade their privacy by naming any of them. Those of you who know her probably know them as well anyway, so I don't feel that's necessary. Certainly not meant to be disrespectful to the family, but it is heavy on my heart today when I found this out, and certainly want to let them know that my thoughts and prayers are with them. In the offbeat, the Venezuelan government has officially announced that they are investigating, get this, the conspiracy theory that somehow the cancer that everyone's favorite recently dead dictator, Hugo Chavez, was suffering from cancer that was given to him by the United States government. Ooh. Not likely, boys and girls. Keep in mind, the occupier here tends to think of Chavez as a local hero. Still using his playbook today. But even though medical science says that it's just not possible, the federal government of Venezuela is going to be opening that investigation just the same. Well, good luck to you, and if you do find anything interesting, please let us know. I would love to figure out why the occupier would want to take out one of his idols. It just doesn't seem likely. At any rate, also, just in the offbeat corner, in case you didn't realize it before, those of you who are familiar with the arcade game Donkey Kong, did you have any idea it was sexist? I came across this story actually just a little while before coming online to broadcast, part of why I was delayed reading it up. This particular story, coming out of Canada, seems that a game programmer had also not paid much attention to it, as it was one of those basic game principles. Here goes Mario going up to the top of the broken whatever as he's going up the stairs to go save Paula, the princess. And his 3 or 4-year-old daughter says to him, I don't want to be Mario. I want to be Paula, and I want to go save him. And it was at that magical moment that the game programmer realized that, yes, indeed, Donkey Kong is sexist. So he came across a updated version of the game, hacked into it, changed the gaming code so that, in fact, his daughter could play as the princess and could go save Mario. And evidently, this particular version of the game is now being marketed. I guess they worked out whatever copyright infringements might have been involved, and they are selling it. There's even a demo in YouTube, so go ahead and check it out. Donkey Kong the Paula Edition, I believe is what they're calling it. At any rate, if that's not silly enough, that is definitely your offbeat on the day. Also, probably the biggest story of the day, certainly overshadowing the fact that the Republicans have offered what on the surface looks like a very reasonable budget, is the fact that the Catholic Church now has a new head. Yes, indeed, a pope has been elected. This particular gentleman is the very first pope to come from the Americas. He is an Argentine man, and certainly an interesting character from all reports that I've seen to this point. For those of you who have not yet heard, the Pope's name is Giorgio Mario Bergoglio, and he will become... I'm trying to pull that up right now. I've lost my stack of stuff. The name of the new Pope will be... Give me a second, folks. Bear with me. Here lately, I tell you what, if it's not technical issues, it's been my stack of stuff sliding around. At any rate, first Latin American Pope to lead the church, as well as the first Judaist priest. The Cardinal Giorgio Mario Bergoglio of Buenos Aires has been elected. He is the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church, taking the name of Pope Francis. He will indeed be Pope Francis the First. You know, I'm not familiar with a lot of the Catholic traditions, as I myself am not Catholic. I have nothing against the Catholic Church by any means, but I have always wondered, maybe somebody can explain this one to me, why is it that the Pope has to take on a different name? If your name is something, why does it suddenly change because you're the Pope? I don't understand that. So if somebody out there can tell me about it, I'll be more than happy to listen. At any rate, let's go ahead and get to the topic, shall we? What we are talking about is the 2014 budget that has been presented by the Republicans. Of course, we all know Paul Ryan is big on numbers. He's capable of doing what we like to call a little thing known as math. The real question at this point, though, and I don't know how many of you are listening to my slightly less confrontational version of Tap Into the Truth over on Blog Talk Radio that I broadcast every Sunday, but I recommend you tune in there as well. Hope I'm not violating any rules by mentioning another outlet that I also utilize, as I mention this show quite a bit over there too. But we had a caller over there that kind of said, why should you even bother putting a budget out there when you're just going to get hammered on it? I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. Somebody's just waiting to call it something, call it whatever, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. He was more specific. He's like, why should the Democrats present a budget when they'll just get hammered and some Republican is going to call him out and say, well, this is socialist or this is whatever. Well, you know, as far as that goes, he has a little bit of a point. It's like, why bother when you know you're just going to get hammered and hit the game? It is just part of the game, and unfortunately it has become a game. But the truth of the matter is, and I didn't quite express this clearly enough, so I'm going to go ahead and say it now, and I'll probably mention it again on this upcoming Sunday's broadcast, and that is, that's just tough beans. It's part of the job, and it has been part of the job for a while. You present a budget, and regardless of what's going to happen to you in the meanwhile, because that's the job. And I'm sorry, but ladies and gentlemen, nobody's sitting in the House or the Senate or in the White House, if you are president / vice president, got there without asking for this job. These people go around begging other rich people for money so they can better afford to run campaigns to beg us, the American people, to vote for them. They don't just want this job a little bit. They spend millions of dollars to try and get this job. The least you can do is show up and do it. So I feel no sympathy for somebody who's going to get hammered because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived. So I give a lot of kudos to Paul Ryan for actually proposing a budget, doing it the way you're supposed to, each and every time, even though there will be no budget proposed by the Democrats in the Senate. And this budget, when it arrives there, will be dead on arrival. If you're interested in taking a look at the budget as it has been offered and presented, I will put a direct link in the show's tags later, so you'll be able to hit on that just in case you're interested. I find it almost humorous that the budget this time actually has been titled "The Path to Prosperity: A Responsible, Balanced Budget." That's the title of the budget. Interesting enough. I have not went through it line by line yet, read the whole thing as of yet. I should have by now, as this was actually proposed yesterday. I've been kind of reluctant as I've not had a whole heck of a lot of time, but there's a table of contents that goes with it, which is a statement of the constitutional and legal authority to present the budget. There's an introduction, there's a summary, there's debt crisis ahead on page 13 of this document, opportunity expanded on page 19, safety net strengthened on page 27, retirement secured on page 37, so 10 pages of safety net strengthened, fairness restored on 47, a national a nation protected, starting on page 61, a budget process reformed, starting on page 65. Yeah, that's right. Well, there's still a lot more pages. Hang on. A responsible, balanced budget, starting on page 77. Appendix number 1 is summary tables, starting on page 75. So basically, up until about page 74 is the actual blah, 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 we give speech, and then from 71 to 74 is the actual budget, and then there's a 3 separate appendices, and that's the last one starts on page 91. And I think now maybe you can see why I thought that I had some better uses of my time rather than to go through this yet. But at some point, a little bit later, I will indeed go through the whole thing. What I have skimmed over, I've been looking at very specific items. But I've got to tell you, at first look, the budget that was unveiled by the House Budget Committee and its chairman, that would be Paul Ryan, advances much-needed reforms and importantly accomplishes the crucial goals of balancing the budget within a decade. Though this is partially on the coattails of Obama's tax increases, it's not a silver bullet, and it's more of a stasis budget rather than a bolder plan that builds on the reforms of previous years. Essentially, there are 6 things that each budget from the House, Senate, and President should accomplish. These have also been laid out by the Heritage Foundation's plan called Saving the American Dream. In case you're interested in looking that up. As a proud member of the Heritage Foundation myself, I spend a lot of time going through their materials and